in order to become wealthy, there's a couple things that we need to get in order, and that is taking care of ourselves. So we need to talk about it. Addictions. Hi, Ridge here, and today this episode's going to be a bit of a downer because we're going to address something that all of us know we need to address. And that is addictions and how they affect our journey to wealth. And how they affect us in our daily lives, in pursuing our dreams and our journey to wealth or anything else we're pursuing. So here we go. Let's talk about what addictions are. Addictions are basically a substance that we need and can't live without. And it comes in many different forms. Addictions can be anything from some of the obvious ones, drugs, alcohol, nicotine of any form, but even things like stealing, shopping, social media, caffeine. Those are some of those just the smaller ones that most people don't really think about, but are indeed an addiction. If we want to be strong individuals, physically, mentally, and spiritually, we're gonna have to conquer our addictions and our vices. I would say the difference between a vice and an addiction, vices tend to not have as big of a consequence. For example, I would say for me, coffee's a vice, but if I go a couple days without it, it's fine, it's not a big deal to me. But I do drink it every day and multiple cups a day. If you literally feel like you can't go without coffee, you start getting grumpy, it affects your mood, and you're spending a lot of money, and it's affecting your daily life, then that is an addiction. There are so many successful people, or high-profile people, if you will, or we'll just call them rock stars, and that can be anywhere from very wealthy people to football actors, all the high profile people. If they struggle with an addiction, it's not the money that kills them because they can afford it. I mean, after all, like if it's drugs, it's not that expensive for millionaires. Or if it's alcohol, same thing. It's not that expensive. However, it ruins and destroys their lives. Because it's not just the money, it affects us every day. If we have some sort of substance that controls us, that we literally don't have the willpower to conquer and say no to, I won't have that extra drink, or no, I can go today without smoking, or whatever the addiction is. If we don't have the willpower to conquer that, if we're on our journey to wealth, what's to say we're going to treat our money any better than we do our own bodies or our own minds? And this is something that we all have to look at our lives and ask ourselves, do I have an addiction or is it just a vice? If you have to really think and compare, it might be an addiction. Just being honest with you. So I want to talk about 3 things that we can do to maybe start kicking some of these bad addictions. First off, I want to say that I think we need to stop thinking about our addictions as addictions. We need to start thinking of them as just bad habits. This is something that I do every single day, or even multiple times a day, that isn't good. It is a bad habit. It's like the equivalent of not wiping your shoes off before you go into a store or somebody's home. It's a bad habit. It's a bad manner to yourself, to your spiritual self, and to your mental self. So first off is get the right mindset of what an addiction is. And I want to stress that this is just my advice, the stuff that I've learned. If you're seriously struggling with something, please seek out professional help. The first step I want us to take when it comes to conquering our addictions is just simply admitting it out loud. Be willing to say it verbally. Don't just say it in your mind. Sometime when you're out on a walk or just alone in your own home, take a moment to admit it and verbally say it out loud to yourself. So you hear yourself, feel it, and it can just sink in. So you know you're at that point that you want to kick this. I think that is the first step that we need to take if we're going to plan on kicking this. And the second one is, this one's going to be tough, and it's tough for a lot of people. We need to talk to somebody about it. We need to admit it. Tell somebody, hey, I'm struggling with this. And if need be, ask them to be your accountability partner. There's no shame in that. Some of the most successful people have accountability partners because they know their brain isn't stronger than their body. So they could very well slip back into whatever addiction is holding them back from their full potential. So please talk to somebody. And step number 3 is just make a plan on how you intend to kick this bad addiction. Start by doing some research, reading books, watching seminars, hanging around with people that don't struggle with that addiction. And that should start your retraining your brain to start thinking in the right terms. It should start retraining your brain to start thinking that this is just a bad habit that I need to kick. Because again, I don't want you to think of your addictions as some sort of ball and chain that's tied to you. It's just a bad habit that you have to kick. It's that simple, and it can be that simple with the right mindset. So make sure you do a lot of research, make a strategy and a plan on how to kick it. And the last point I want to make is don't be ashamed. Everyone has some form of vice or addiction. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Just admit it, own it, and kick that bad habit. Don't let these addictions control you anymore. Start taking the right steps to kicking some of these bad habits. I want to recommend something that's really helped me in my life. That's called Tamed Course by Improvement Pill. I've recommended it before. First link in the reference notes below. It's a fantastic, simple, free course that helps you just grasp what an addiction is, and then how to adjust your mindset to be able to start conquering it. And the basic premise is, don't worry about the bad habits, just start creating good habits. And that builds your willpower to be able to kick the bad habits. Watch Tamed Course by Improvement Pill. Again, link in the reference notes down below. An addiction is kind of like a parasite or a cancer. If we don't control it, it will just continue to take over our lives and eat our dreams and our future and our family and eventually ourselves.